Welcome to another episode of Inspire People, Impact Lives. Today we are talking about creating a culture of creative success. And I throw that word in there on purpose because we can talk about success and leadership all day. But we're talking about creative success in an ever-changing, visually sophisticated world. I think about when we put this together, I think about Instagram and how fast we scroll through visual context and pictures nowadays. That's what came to mind for me as we started talking about that. And we got none other than Mark Schmitz with us today, special guest and recent recipient of the Greater Madison Chamber of Commerce's Ground Floor Award. That's a mouthful. I think mostly because of Greater Madison Chamber of Commerce. But for small, this is an award for small business leadership. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thanks. So I want to talk a little bit about the company Zebradog, from crafting logos for City of Madison and Madison College to doing design work for local landmarks like the Cole Center, like Camp Randall and Buckingham, like we talked about before we got on the mics here anyhow, the UW-Madison Memorial Union, the Sylvie, to taking on national and international clients, some big national ones like the New York Knicks, Duke University. Mark has proven that in Greater Madison small businesses, they can also have a huge global imprint as well. To give a couple other highlights for you, other local clients like Exact Science, Sub-Zero. Well, Leinenkugels isn't exactly local, but it's the state of Wisconsin.
It's a world brand.
Yeah. Leinenkugels beer, everybody knows it. SSM Health and the Green Bay Packers. Now, I already told you I'm not a Packers fan, but we'll forgive that for this, right? So excited to have you in today, Mark, and you share us with your expertise. But before we get into all of the stuff, Zebradog and Mark Schmitz, tell us a little bit about your backdrop and history here in Madison.
Third generation Madison native, independent business owner, as both my grandfathers were. I guess we come from that Midwestern stock of work 8 days a week, never lie, comb your hair, tie your shoes,
you
that
combed
kind
your
of
hair
thing.
Today?
Yeah, I did. Okay. Even though it's white. I didn't used to have white hair like this. That's what owning your own business for 29 years will do to you. It's a tough row. But I grew up on the west side of Madison. Went to Odana Elementary School, which turned into Epic's kind of second office space over on Seagull Road.
Well, it was the original one, and then it became secondary when they built the big campus, right?
Yeah, that's right. And so that was in the early 60s, and I knew what I was going to do when I was in second grade in Mrs. Christensen's class at Odana Elementary School. I did a drawing, and she liked it so much that she put it up in the glass case outside in the hallway, and everybody got to look at it, and it was a description of where your food goes after you eat it. And so I had to draw this sort of cross section of a guy, and the way I spelled esophagus was pretty funny. So I've always known since a little kid that my mission in the world was to create information design, to create stories, tell stories for people to read and be a part of and be impacted by. So fast forward 56 years, deeply involved in the storytelling and visualization business, from Lambeau Field and the legends that live there and around there to Saudi Arabia and helping with King Fahd University. So 17 states, 6 countries, about 6,000 projects later. We're 26 years old company, and I started on the Capitol Square in 1994. And so it's been an interesting run, to say the least.
And we didn't talk about the Saudi Arabia one, but we did talk about that you're referral only. So you said you go where the wind blows.
Yeah, we're. I guess we're such a niche specialty with some really unique people on our staff that are very highly disciplined in the worlds of history and content development and writing. Project management, producing, graphic design, digital design, a lot of motion media and interactive media design. So we have a hybrid of really unique characters that make up our team, and my job is to keep the best team on the court at all times, and be able to adjust that lineup to what we're going to be up against next, and whether we're working again with a university or a foundation in Doha, or whether we're down in Stoughton putting together a Norwegian Heritage Center. We always field the best team with the most unique characters, and passion is sort of the single word and mission that we've got each day in the studio, and inclusion. So we are really all for one for all on a team.
That's awesome. So maybe this is part of that, and maybe it's not. We'll come back to this then. So why the name Zebradog?
1992, I meet a woman who has 3 Z's in her last name, and I've got one in mine. And we wanted to figure out what we would call this entity that we were just starting. And so Z Design was sort of the answer to that, and Z Design turned into ZD Studios. A year later, she falls in love with our one client. She's gone. I buy half the computer and the letterhead, and now it's my company on the Capitol Square with 2 people. And ZD Studios, I kept getting mail. 7D Studios, LD Studios, 4D Studios, Mrs. D Studios, everything but ZD Studios. And I'm spelling it on the phone one day to an insurance guy who said, "Okay, Mark, tell me about 7D Studios." And I went, no, it's Z as in zebra, D as in dog, Studios. And I went, Zebradog. That's what it means. And so that was 1994. I bought a rubber stamp, got an X-Acto blade, cut some lines in the dog of a rubber stamp, and I made a Zebradog. So that it doesn't mean a thing, but yet it's on T-shirts in the Middle East, and in Florida, and in Texas, and in Europe, and everywhere else. So, and that was before God made the internet. So once the internet arrived, God made the internet.
Oh, okay.
So once the once the internet arrives, the word Zebradog sort of popped up a lot in a lot of different things, and so it was an interesting run. So needless to say, so it doesn't mean it's sort of a hybrid, and that's really what we are. We are a very disciplined, intellectual-based design solutions studio, and design solutions in the sense that it's all about helping our clients share their soul and their story and their world with all of their constituents. So we do it in a lot of different ways. So we're not an architectural firm, we're not an ad agency, we're not a printing company, we're none of that. But we're this sort of story solution studio, which is really high. It's a real hybrid, and relevancy continues to be the role, and we just got to stay relevant all the time.
I love that story just for the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes, Zebradog must have some really...
It doesn't mean a damn thing.
You're right.
Isn't that great?
But it came from fruition of just people screwing the name up so dang much.
Right.
That you're like, okay, I got to make some clarity of this. And they're like, oh, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, because everybody's got an acronym in their name, and so especially design firms, architectural firms that are worse, they're all a 3 acronym name everywhere. And so Zebradog really fits into the model of being very collaborative in terms of how we work with architects and interior designers and contractors, and every day we're at the table with all of our partners who are all within those disciplines, and we bring a level of intellect and sort of story solution to the table that are absolutely not brought by the other entities. So.
Oh, that's cool. So I want to go back to, you talked about inclusion, and you gave a brief definition, and maybe that's just it, but when you think of inclusion, what do you think of? Because that's kind of a buzzword with all corporate cultures nowadays.
Yeah, I guess I know that without it, we're only as good as the people around us, and I believe that everyone has a gift. Everyone has a very special and certain gift. And if you're able to see those gifts in people, and you're able to bring multiple gifts together, and you put a team together on a court that's going to really truly be dimensional and multidimensional in its form, that word inclusion means everything.
Yeah.
It means it is our success. It defines our success. and as does leadership, and as does empowerment, and all those other, all the other words that you want to use. But it's also sort of a moniker for us when we come together with different companies to do one thing. There are a lot of people involved in helping build Exact Sciences and build all the SSM healthcare facilities, and there's thousands of people around making those things happen, and we play a very specific role on those specific teams.
Oh, that's cool. So when I heard you describe that, what came to mind is diversity a little bit.
Yeah.
But not just diversity in skin color or religion or sex, but rather diversity in thought.
Yeah.
And getting people's talents to really shine through, and then making it feel inclusive so that you guys are one team on one mission.
Yeah, and then I think, what I speak a lot around the country to organized groups of designers and architects and communications specialists, and the deeper we can go in thought, and the more respect we have for each other around the table, that brings this sort of an empowerment out in everybody around us. So my job every day is to be the sort of ultimate cheerleader and the leader of all of that. So I'll sit with each person on my staff each day, one-on-one, to talk about what we're working on, what we're doing, how we can help each other get to a better solution, and then we meet as a group all the time as well. So it's constant communication, just absolutely constantly communicating.
But I think there's also you have a deep level of respect for these people, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
And so what I want to point out to the audience here is and I'm working on this myself as a business leader, but any business leader, any business owner that's listening, how you just described the level of respect and inclusivity is that's what everyone should be striving for. Yeah,
there's no hierarchy. We have a flat org chart. We just do. And I don't believe in org charts. I don't believe in titles. I don't believe in any of that. And we put titles on people for other people, right? So that other people can sort of understand the difference between one form or another. But
or ego.
Yeah, and it's
ego.
just we're in the business of helping other people. We are on one knee in a service capacity, with chest out, in a way that very few other companies are like, and I think that comes from me. It comes from a level of service and dignity and respect, and that everybody that's working on my family, it's a family. It's not a staff of whoever just got here is the lowest on the totem pole. It's really incredibly unique, the different talents and spectrum of thought that we have at the table every day. And that really is inspiring. For a 56-year-old guy to have a bunch of 25-year-olds around, making me listen to their music, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Well, I need that you can tolerate that.
Lizzo, I got to learn what Lizzo is this year. Yeah. That was a big deal.
Well, she sold out the Sylvie.
Yeah, she did. Yeah,
evidently, from the people that I know that went to it, said she did.
It was a great show.
Yeah, great show. I know. So, and I have daughters that listen to some of it as well. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So we could sit here and think, or someone listening to this could be like, "Oh, that sounds all well and great. Mark has all this figured out."
Yeah.
But over 26 years, there had to be quite a few bumps.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about someone that may have a team member that has lost their passion, or just isn't fitting the motivation that you really seek from your team and the inspiration that you seek from your team. How do you handle that?
I think we're all on a path together in life, and we come together for certain periods of time, and then we're apart. And I believe completely that when we're together and we're the guys in the band, the girls in the band, we're all making great music is great. Somebody ultimately thinks that they have a solo career, and that they think they can go do this solo, and God bless them if they think they can do that, because the one thing for sure is they can't. But we let them, you just let that happen and guide them. Don't burn a bridge. Try everything you can do to keep a relationship intact, because every one of us is going to see every other one of us in 30 years, guaranteed. Mm-hmm. And so when people start to flame out, and it's happened a number of times over 2.5 decades, when people flame out, it's for personal issues. they're on their own path. Everybody's on their own path, and so I just try to accept that, understand that, know that it is what it is, and wish everybody luck. If in the re-inspiration category, I'm lucky enough to be able to present a lot of the work that we do around the world, and then be able to see what happens in the universe to the information that we put out and the people that are affected by it. A lot of the people that work with me are on to the next project and the next one and the next one. So we do something wonderful and open up a new facility in Dallas, Texas. And that's sort of all they know. But what they don't know is what they left behind is absolutely incredible. And the people it's affecting and the change that it's making is everything that we put into making the design happen. And so I remind people of the importance of what they're doing. Everything we do is purpose-based. We are not going to be in this world for very long if we're just in this to make cash and have a fee grab, which is what which is what the commoditization of the design business is doing right now. You have printers running around saying they're experiential designers now.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think that it's all of the service industry.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
not just your business. I think
all of it.
So I get new recruits that'll ask me, "Are robo-advisors going to take us out?" And I say, absolutely not.
Yeah.
What we do can, and I'm sure you have the same opinion, what we do specifically can never be commoditized because of the relationships that we build with our clients. Yeah. People won't do what we do or what they're supposed to do. People don't think they're going to die today, so they're not going to go buy life insurance the day before they die.
Right.
Because they don't think that's even going to happen. But we don't know. We're not guaranteed to get in our car and get home tonight.
Right.
So we have to have those relationships and get people and put their feet to the fire, where I'm sure in your business, same thing, is if you're, some things can be commoditized and have been commoditized. But in the service industry, those human-to-human interactions can never be
true. And you look at the real estate industry right now and how important it is. I mean, realtors play such an enormously important role in a transaction. I mean, I don't know how you can do it without it, but to run around Zillow and think that you know what you're doing and you're going to be able to, I think the real estate industry as a whole has a challenge ahead of it, but they're also some of the brightest people and the brightest stars in the service business. And the same thing goes in advocacy for finances. And like you said, we can't be replaced. What happens is when people on the fringe of what you might do, that they're on the supplier end or whatever, the fringe starts to cross over without the educational and shop background to do so, and that's when your services become commoditized. And so commoditization is the death of all service. And so as soon as our intellectual property is endangered by somebody who never did it before and is now claiming that they will do it, and then the price is at an eighth of what the industry calls for, they don't realize it, but they've just destroyed their own future. They've just literally dissolved their own future in trying to jump at something that they can't do. And I think you see it all the time. You see it everywhere. And in the design business, tragically, we see it often. You can go online right now and buy a logo for $5. And you're done. I'm a logo designer. That's what I've done for 50 years. And now you can go online and buy one for $5. So what's the difference? $35,000 or $5? What? Well, there's a big difference in that. And if you understand it and you're a part of it and you know what it means and how customized and signature and how deep it can go, that it's a lot more than a logo. It's an entire soul of a brand of an organization or a visual brand of an organization. So. Interesting times.
It is. And I had two trains of thought there, so I'm going to stick with one. But would it be too simplistic to say that what you do is selling a vision?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We are.
So absolutely it's too simplistic, or that is
No, absolutely. We are we're in the idea business, and we are able to visualize the way an organization or an association or an NFL team or an NBA team or whatever can truly connect to their constituents, their fan base, their client base, their staff base. And so that is vision squared. in terms of what the value is that organizations receive out of what we do. The ROI is really, you can't explain it. We can talk to any one of our clients and talk about what the intangible ROIs have been through time, and then we can directly equate that to to annual profits, or to however you want to equate that. Culture development, right? So it's really truly about sensing the culture in an environment, and then being able to create visual and tactile and digital sort of information that surrounds that heightens the whole culture. So it's really a fine line between. It's all about telling the truth, and a lot of people don't do that. A lot of companies don't do that, and companies are based in people. So it's a fine line.
Yeah. Well, the reason I even brought that up is because I think that for most people, creating a vision for themselves personally, or creating a vision for their business is a really difficult task.
Yeah, it is.
I feel blessed that in my Strengths Finder, my number one is futuristic. So I have the ability to see and create a vision, but I know that a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
And so companies like you, people like you, can really help create that for people that struggle, that don't have futuristic in their top 5 strengths, or don't have someone on their team that is, and can really help paint that picture from. I'm just thinking, through the people that we listed off here, is like you said, the New York Knicks, or even UW and what they're trying to do with the Buckingham part of the stadium, or whatever it might be, to major brands. Like Exact Sciences is an emerging major brand. It's major here, but it's about to be major nationally. And selling and pitching that vision not only to the top level, but maybe it's to the top level that it spreads that across the whole organization, that creates this stickiness.
And at Exact, the implementation of a giant video wall that's sort of a kinetic art, generative art wall that takes weather data and weather information and sends it through an algorithm to create custom artwork and on the walls, is what's happening at Exact. And so it is extraordinarily complicated and extraordinarily beautiful, and it is science meets art. And
I don't even know if I can picture that.
No,
but it
you
sounds
can't.
awesome.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's Mother Nature, and the data that Mother Nature gives us every hour: wind speed, cloud cover, humidity, temperature. All of that going through an algorithm that turns it into a palette that paints itself, and so the entire wall changes with changing weather, and so that's a difficult thing to deliver. First of all, it's a difficult thing to conceive of something like that, then to sell that to the top
cheap.
C-suite group over there. It was worth every penny. And
I'm sure it was, but that's like I'm sure the CFO in the room's going, we're going to spend what on what?
And it's culture. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful and mesmerizing in culture-based design that goes in and around and fits into the entire relationship of the company, the reason they exist, the fact that they are here to save lives, and to look at nature, at DNA, to be able to do that. We render fractal patterns every hour on the hour with data from current weather conditions. So it's really complicated and beautiful. And I think when you see it, that shows that's what we do. We do things that are really unexplainable until you see them, until you're a part of them.
How does an idea like that come to fruition?
We've always been fascinated with with sort of data visualization. How do you take the blood flow in your body and your heart rate and the centimeters of pressure that come out of your heart every minute? How do you turn that into a visualization on a computer screen? And those kinds of things, data visualization, is something that we've been on the front lines of experimenting with for many, many, many years, and learning how to use human conditions and how to use natural biology to through algorithmic coding and into digital design. And it's It's a discipline that's very rare. There's not a lot of people that do it. And I think that's what's extraordinary about what we did with Exact was because they understand that, and it is who they are. It was the right fit.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask as a follow-up is, what was the story that they painted to you that made you think that was the right fit?
It just comes from years of knowing the leadership there and having good, very positive personal relationships and professional relationships. And there's an intangible that we have, that I may have, I don't know, that can feel something that's right, as opposed to try to go through a mathematical equation to see if it works. I have an innate sense that this is the right thing to do here, and then presenting that in a way that is evocative and intelligent as it is to that organization that is extraordinarily evocative and intelligent. You have a great match and synchronicity of thought to design, and I think that's where we succeed in the work that we do all over the place. We had last night there was a board meeting, and we've been working for 47 days on a presentation.
Wow.
And last night at 5:00, two colleagues and I went and gave a presentation to a board of directors of 9 people. It lasted an hour and 10 minutes, and at about 50 minutes into the presentation, everyone at the table was bawling, was crying. Everyone was crying. 2 ladies got up and went and got Kleenex and came and sat back down. That's when we know we're successful. When you care so much about your customer's world and their story and what it is that they want to do and what they want to say about a true American story, which is the GM exodus out of Janesville. There's so much passion put into our team and our presentation that their board is completely touched by it, and that's when we cut through. So when you get a tear, when you're telling a story, when you're telling somebody's own story back to them, and they know that you understand it, that's the kind of level and that's the intensity that we bring every day to every single thing that we do.
Well, I think that's just such a great lesson for anyone in any business, right? Mm-hmm. Is it always has to be about them, not about you.
Always.
And if it is, the rewards will come back double, triple, quadruple.
Absolutely. That's called the law of attraction.
Right. I totally agree with you. Yeah. But what you said there was so true to you and how you built your company, but it can be true to anyone in any business.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
long as they believe so.
Yeah.
And it's really just getting enough, taking the time to understand who you're trying to serve.
Yeah.
And as you said, your words, to tell their story back to them in a unique way to position your products and services services.
And that they could never have imagined ever, and that we became one right at that moment that's a transformational delivery of intellectual thought. And the other part of it is we believe so strongly in emotional literacy. So your ability to understand who you are as an emotional human being, what your feelings are and how you track with others, and that selflessness is your power, is incredibly important. To be selfless is to be successful, and in all service businesses.
And that doesn't mean giving yourself.
Oh no.
Away.
That means awakening the power of the relationship that you have with your client, and your selfless help to them and service to them is really the ultimate emotional exchange. It's the ultimate investment that you can make in your business. Is selfless service to your clients, whether you're in the insurance business, the real estate business, the design business, whatever it might be. And you guys know the ones that do it well, and you know the ones that don't get it at all. Mm-hmm. And those are the ones that fail. And the ones that can be around for 30 years are the people that truly understand it's not about them. Mm-hmm. It's not about their wallet. It's not about the trip to Cancun. It's only about service to another human being in whatever it is you're doing. Absolutely critical. Emotional literacy is one of the most important things anyone can study in prophecy for successful service business.
Yeah, EQ is the buzzword, emotional intelligence. I can't remember, was it Goldsmith that wrote Emotional Intelligence 2.0? But that was a great book I read early on in my career that comes with a quiz that you can take so you can take it ahead of time to see if
That's great.
see how intelligent or unintelligent you are currently.
That's
because schools focus on IQ.
Yeah.
But societally, you're right. We focus on EQ. How well do you connect with me? How well do you understand your own emotions?
Right.
To be able to have a conversation and a relationship with me.
And everything's a relationship. So emotional literacy is really that's the architect of your relationship. So really critical to study that, to believe in that, and to live that. More than anything is to live it.
Do you test for this as you hire?
That's more of an intuitive thing, I guess. I don't. There's probably a test somewhere.
There are.
But the test is the test is in the eyes.
Yeah.
And it's like my dad always says, always look at a man's shoes. It's sort of a detail thing, right? And so I guess it's a band, and we feel it, and we listen to people, and if we can all be in the band together, it's going to work forever. And then when somebody, Freddie Mercury wants to go have a solo career, that didn't work so well. He needed to get back to the band.
Yeah.
So. People that go and try to rock star themselves out, good luck.
Well, you know that I learned this over the years, that women have used that against us for decades. Look at a man's shoes.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
And
that's funny.
Literally, I've been told this numerous times.
Sure, yeah.
Is to pay attention to a man's shoes.
Right, yeah.
For numerous different reasons. I've been told different things about what it says about us as a man.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like my grandmother would say, just brush your hair and comb your hair and brush your teeth, shine your shoes, everything will be fine. Just take care of the details, right?
The simple
and everything
things.
works out. The most simple things ever. And I have my daughter takes her friends into my closet to show them all of my shoes when she comes home. I've got probably about 90 pairs of shoes that are all organized by color which is one of my nutty things, but.
You OCD?
A little bit, yeah. You
I'm ADD, so it's a fine line. So I get it. My dad's extremely OCD.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where everybody's got to be a little bit on the spectrum if they're somehow successful.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
No, I would agree with you. There's most of my advisors, I would say, are somewhat ADD.
Yeah.
And it's just a quirk where we are not actually the most organized people. The people that work for us are very organized. Yeah. But us by nature, we're more people oriented, more big picture oriented, and helping someone get to the next spot that they want to get to. So we've talked about a lot of stuff so far, and we've kind of been all over the place, but I think that's been a good thing because we've got some great stuff from you already. Looking back at 2019, since we're at the beginning of the year, what was the biggest challenge and how did you attack it? And then we'll get into some 2020 stuff.
Okay. I think the challenge in 19 is really seeing the commoditization of the design industry and seeing people who are stretching, to say the least, stretching their what they think their capacity is to deliver the kinds of things that we deliver in this industry. So that is, watching that happen has been a challenge. And then to get out of that, we're doing right now we're in the middle of a major comprehensive business review, and I've got a consultant that's I'm working with from Nashville who's sort of senior chops in the creative service business, and it's really great to work with him to define relevancy and define our particular voice and our particular deliverable, because design is many things to many people, and I think what we need to do is find the matchup of clients that understand and have the capacity to work with us, which is really a reversal of in some ways. Instead of just trying to go get anything you can get, we really are going through the client interviewing stage to say, are you ready for this journey? Because we're going to go on a journey together, and the outcome of that journey will be something that you're not capable of even understanding right now. Mm-hmm. And I can give you 500 examples of what those things are, as opposed to just sort of buying for price and buying a commodity-based product. We'll let the others take care of that, right? We want to work with, we're really good out of town. I mean, we do a lot of work around the country, and I don't know what that is or why that is so positive. Maybe, people think that this weird name, this Zebradog company, is some sort of
cool
sort
niche
of thing that,
yeah,
this new, which is great, but I think so. The problem in 19 is witnessing and watching the commoditization of an industry, and then to solve that and get through that in 20, we've got a really comprehensive business flush that we're going through, and we'll come out of it realigned, new voice, new vision, new passion, and that's great for me at this age to go through this again. That's just, I love that. I eat that up.
So is that what you're most excited for in 2020?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There are about 4 projects right now that are very close to being a go, that will change us as an organization. They will change who we are, and anytime you can say that in any business, that's a remarkable thought. So our goal is to just continue to nurture those, make sure that they all come to fruition, and that we're able to roll, because we'll be on airplanes all over the country soon.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you said something earlier, and I think a lot of people in the service industry might struggle with this. Let's say they're an accounting firm, and everyone's perception is that, well, you're accountants, you just do my taxes, but they may have a service that's way deeper than that, and they don't know how to pitch that.
Yeah.
And what you said was, when we get done, you're not going to even you have no capability of understanding what you're going to see, hear, feel at that time. How do you sell that? So I think that some of our advisors may struggle with it. They do a way deeper dive into someone's financial life than just managing money or selling insurance.
Where you help them really change and live their life in a way that they're really confident and healthy and comfortable with their financial side. I've had some good advice from good people that way, and it's really changed who I am as a father, and then who I am as a businessman. I think when it's really difficult to be a startup in this world, because that term is even new, and we try to have that the mentality of, we are going to do something today that we never could have thought that we could do yesterday. So this is something I bring to my group all the time, is, you guys, tomorrow is the best day we're ever going to have. We're going to do something tomorrow you can't even dream about doing today. And I got to tell you, that's actually happened. We're doing things that nobody understood how to do yesterday, and that we do, and we get through this stuff together. And it's all super high-end technology things that are human engagement spaces and interactive spaces and camera-based technology, and things that we're leveraging technology to be able to tell a story in a deeper and more evocative way. In order for us to sell the idea of taking Mother Nature, turning her into a live canvas on a wall, that's not something you think about every day, and it's certainly not something you do every day. And I can tell you, you've never seen it anywhere, because the only place it exists is right here on the Beltline. And
I can't wait to see it.
To describe that, you have to be a storyteller. You have to be the one that has your narrative and your story so complete that the way you're delivering the passion of what you know is going to work and what you know is going to help them, that in itself is your sort of clandestine future, is that your belief in your brand, your personal brand, your company's your organizational brand, that voice, that promise, that's what makes the sell. That's what gets people up and out of their seats and going for Kleenex and crying, because you now have become them. You've become one. And I think I've seen it happen probably 100 times in my business career, where there's a moment in the meeting where eyes lock, and they lock for about 4 seconds, and it's over. Right there, it's over. You will be working
like eternity, but
you'll be working together forever. Right at that point.
That's awesome.
And there's there's the decision maker in the room, and we find out who, you internally can understand who you sort of figure that out. There may be a board and a vote and whatever else, but then there's key decision makers around. Somehow those, when your eyes lock and there's that belief in that truth, and all it is really just human to human truth. You just trust someone, and trust is all we live for. Trust is all we have. We don't have anything else. If I can't trust you, then we can't be together, and at any level, and especially when you're in a level of delivering significant outcome for a project. So I guess my belief in myself and my belief in my team is how I can convert or sell somebody,
and your passion around it,
for them to understand that this is the truth. Nobody's trying to sell you anything here. That's maybe the word we got to get rid of, is the word sell. Because if you're selling something, you're faking. Somebody's getting faked out somewhere. We're coming together on an idea, and we're going to live the idea together. And that's where you end up being positive to that end.
Or the passion that you have around just explaining to me that question, right? Where you could get rid of the word sell, but like you're that. I mean,
but you have you have to believe in yourself so deeply and at such an incredible core level, or how can you do anything?
Okay, how did you get to that? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah,
especially initially in their careers, or if you talk or think about a startup, is like they have this great idea, and they have maybe an MBA, and maybe they have all these advanced degrees, and like their resume is sparkling, and yet they struggle with self-confidence.
I think we're all born to live our dharma, and we're all born to do something. Some people find out what they're born to do earlier than others. Some people force it. They really force this MBA and that MBA and this MBA and MBA. So I guess maybe I'm just a student. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do, or teach. But I think it's incredibly difficult for people to know what they're born to do, and that we all really are. And that's when I said earlier that everybody's got a gift, a special gift. My job is to find it, nurture it, and put it with others that complement it. It's not to force somebody to do something they can't do or they're uncomfortable doing, but it's to find their absolute sweet spot where they will absolutely be successful, and then marry that with others that can do the same thing. And that way you create a team, a multidisciplinary team of thinkers and doers that actually can think and actually do. Yeah. And so I think one of the things about in the design industry, people can talk about things and they can make pretty pictures and draw pictures. Unless you can do it, you're not in the business. And so we're really incredibly good at delivering what we design.
That's really cool to hear. So it's awesome. Do you follow Gary Vee?
No, I don't.
So he's not for everyone. He's pretty crass.
Okay.
F word comes out of his mouth about every sentence.
All right.
So he's not for everyone. But I was watching something on Instagram that popped up into my head as you were describing there. And you were talking about just do it. Mm-hmm. And so some young entrepreneur was asking him about his idea and asking him, should he do it and should that? He's like, you're asking the wrong questions. And because I had to go around with passion and is this the love of his life or whatever it may be. And Gary's basic advice was just do it. Yeah. You're going to find out if it's what you were meant to do or not.
Right. The old idea of, jump and the net will appear.
Yeah.
That's the entrepreneurial lifestyle is jump and the net will appear. You'll find it. It'll find you. And that's so hard for so many people to do.
Right.
And for some reason, maybe it's that I was the oldest in the family. Maybe it's that I went through a lot of hardship when I was younger with my family, with my father, and you sort of get to a place where when I was 17, I was told, "You're on your own. You want to go to school? You're on your own." And so putting myself through college, 4 jobs, took 7 years. Starting a business with nothing. My dad didn't give me the business. My uncle didn't give me, it was from the absolute ground up. And I think there's something really special in that. And there's something honest in that, something really honest to say, well, if you did this yourself, then this must be what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
as opposed to sort of, pushing yourself into something that you're really not comfortable in. And I think with customers, I typically will be introduced to a client at a time of great change in their organization. So they're either building a $70 million new building, or they're merging with another company, or they're about to acquire another company, or there's a huge leadership change. That's when I get called to the table, and it says, here's my business card. On the back, my title says visual therapist. And so I'm more from a seat of therapy than anything else. Helping people get through business problems and making decisions is something that I'm probably better at than designing. Is that because we're all human beings. Companies don't make decisions, people make decisions, right? My good friend Fritz Grutzner says that all the time. And I really believe that through that process of therapy comes trust, and through the trust comes the design aspect, and the fact that when someone believes in you, that's the best day of your life. When somebody believes in you, that's
affirmation that
life.
you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And so, work 8 days a week, never lie. That's sort of the Midwestern munch.
But it's and people can sit there and analyze that. How do you work 8 days and stuff? You figure it out if you really want to.
If you want to do it, you'll end up doing it. That's really true.
That's right. So I don't know if this is necessarily on topic or not, but what keeps you up at night?
I think relevancy, right? I'm so focused on making an impact, and so focused on tomorrow, right? On where we can go, that say sometimes get lost in the where we are and the technical day-to-day insanity of HR, the insanity of all of that stuff. If what keeps me up is not somehow not allowing myself to be the visionary that I know that I am. So I keep pulling myself back to deal with this particular client issue or that particular employee issue or whatever it might be, when I really truly I just want to be out parachuting in front of the troops and clearing the ground before everybody shows up. That's what I want to do. So that's sort of the nagging piece that's always there that a lot of good therapy, I'll get through that.
Well, so that question I asked even when I was in personal practice. It was my favorite question to ask a business owner, because every business owner had a different answer.
Different answer, sure.
And sometimes it was really long, sometimes it was a really short, simple thing, but that's what kept him up at night.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like I love solving problems, so that was one thing. I was like, okay, what problem can I solve? Now it's just out of curiosity to get to know you and understand, so that others and our listeners can understand, like, hey, I'm not alone if they may share that same issue.
Right. It's sort of the fear of living your dharma, your who you are and who you're supposed to be and who you believe you're supposed to be. But the fear of advancing that, for fear of losing some of the things that you can control. And we're all ultimately kind of control freaks at the end of it all. Where the hardest thing in the world for an independent business owner to do is, let go, right? It's just so hard to do that. And it's not that that you don't have the right people to let go to, because I've got the best people in the world around me. It's just do it. Let them do this. They're going to hit it out of the park, and they do. It's just sort of my little haunting voice that somehow doesn't let me do that.
I don't think you're alone in that by any means, because like you said, we're all a little bit control freaks, and to a certain extent, I've read a Harvard Business Review that we're all narcissistic at some level.
Sure.
There's probably a spectrum there where there's actual true clinically diagnosed narcissists,
right.
But then each individual has their own level of narcissism that kind of goes along with that.
That's true.
So I want to be respectful of your time, so let's wrap up a little bit here. I'll ask one question before we get into the word game, because I just with our conversation today, think it's really appropriate. What do you attribute your success to over the last 30 years, let's call it, round up? to whether in business, as a person, as a husband or father, like however you take that question, it's up to you. But what do you attribute your success the most to?
I think it's the belief in self. I think it's the really deep down belief that I know that I can help. This sounds so cliche. I can actually help a lot of people, and the gratefulness that I feel for even being able to be here and sit and talk with you today, and to do this stuff I did this morning, and that I'm going to do tonight, and what I'm going to do tomorrow, and what I did yesterday. That there's a belief, a basic, really strong belief in my feeling I can make people laugh and I can help them. And it's that simple. It's not anything else. And it's show up, right? Just get up and show up. I mean, the all of the adages in the world, it's as soon as the can of paint's open, the room's 80% painted, right? It's just like get up and show up every single day, and put your mouth guard in and tape your ankles and go. Every day, go forward. Never look to the side, ever. Never look back, but just go forward all the time. I think that's absolutely what I live by, is get up and show up.
So the belief part. So first of all, whether it's cliche or not, it's never going to come that way from you, because when you believe, you are believed, and you believe, and therefore I can believe in you, and it doesn't matter if I've ever heard that cliche saying or not. I believe that coming from your mouth, because you
it's
believe
true.
that.
Yeah.
So for anyone out there, whether you're afraid of saying something cliche,
right.
like
Don't.
if that's truly what you believe to your core, say it, because I'm going to believe it, and so is the person in front of you.
Yeah, that's really true. And I so just again blessed to have great people in my life that I can work with. It's always together, right? It's always that's the word of the year is together. We're always together, and when we're not together, we feel it. When somebody's not there at the table, at the team, in the family, whatever, you feel it, and it's, we're as good as each other.
Yeah, I would say in Madison here, don't ever burn bridges. Right. Mark and I found we have a lot of commonalities.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
I grew up next door to his uncle.
To my uncle, yeah. That's great.
So we didn't know each other before today, but we got a lot of common.
My cousins, and that's awesome.
A lot of common people. So you just never know who you're going to run across or be in front of over the next 20, 30 years.
I used to ride my horses out here. We're in the middle of what used to be a farm field years ago.
Now it's fully developed, just like our neighborhood. Your neighborhood didn't exist when we moved in.
There was a rat farm there. When I used to feed the rats there in Harlem
Hills. Yeah, it used to smell.
When I was a kid.
When I was in Seminole Hills. So we used to smell that rat farm.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so let's get into the word game. Mm-hmm. Again, as Chad told you before, just one word or short phrase answers is whatever first comes to head, because we want this to come from your instinct.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. So we'll start with innovation.
Truth.
Motivation.
Self.
Collaboration.
Believe.
Love.
Love.
It is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Passion.
Success.
Power.
Honest.
Legacy.
Important.
Brand.
Confusing word that should never be used.
That's good. Inspire or inspiration?
Daily.
Impact.
Power.
Those are good. So I want to ask this before we wrap up, because it just came to mind. What do you want your legacy to be?
We designed the manhole covers here in Madison some years ago. So I have a feeling that 100 years from now, people are still going to be walking on those manhole covers. And that's pretty scary to think that was the best work that you ever did. No, legacy must be, that I brought a lot of people together for a lot of very good reasons, and they're all better for it.
Yeah,
I think that might be it.
That's good. I love asking that question, because I think people should think about it.
Nobody's ever asked me that before.
Well,
that's a tough one.
It is tough.
Yeah.
And I think people should think about it more.
Yeah.
After having to deliver my father-in-law's eulogy, I got to thinking. I was like, could people say those words about me?
Right.
Or would they?
Good. Good
And so that's why legacy was part of our word game. So I figured I'd ask.
That's great.
So what's favorite book of all time or most recent one read that you'd love to shout out?
Famous book of all time: One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. Bar none.
Bought each of my kids. So speaking of Dr. Seuss, Oh, the Places You Go.
Perfect.
Great book. A child book and read
Great book to read to them. Yeah, I'm a huge Dr. Seuss fan. And maybe it's because I like the pictures.
The alliteration of it. Right? So how can our audience get in touch with you? Follow you, whatever.
Zebradog. Go to zebradog.com. We've got every social media link on earth on zebradog.com. Mark at Zebradog is my email address. And please, if anybody needs any visual therapy or you want to talk about what should happen next, I'm absolutely here. I'm not going anywhere. We're right down on Willie Street, right next to the Willie Street Co-op, in a 110-year-old Carnegie Library, kitty corner from the Crystal Corner, I like to say.
That's cool.
So stop in.
So what I've loved about today's conversation is, we talked a lot about the company and the culture and stuff like that, and people could take one of two routes here. Is like, we talked a lot about Zebradog, and that was like self-promotion, I guess they could think. But what I found is like, it was just so utterly authentic. And whatever people take, like, sure, it could be self-promotion, or it could be Zebra. Like, that's not my job. My job was really to elicit what I got from you today were just awesome nuggets that anyone could apply. So I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
It was an awesome conversation.
It's great to be here. It's great to meet an old neighbor.
Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic.
An old Nakoma member, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So good. Well, everybody have a great week. Thanks for tuning in, and please share this episode because Mark killed it.